Hey, what's up everyone? Morey Croson here, and today we're going to be breaking down the fastest 10-yard start in the 40-yard dash. We're going to start the video right now. This is the newest edition of the performance lab. Reach your individual goals. You don't want to just talk about straight line speed. We also want to talk about your ability to be quick. We break down your video. Let's make you into the quarterback I know you can become. Alright, so I was recently doing a video, some of you guys might have seen it, where I was talking about is running under a 4-second possible, 4-second 40 even possible, and when I did that, what I wanted to really see was like, what was the fastest first 10 yards we've seen at the combine, so we can get a better understanding of what is an actual possibility within those first 10 yards, and you know, when I was doing that, and I saw it was Henry Ruggs who ran a 4.27, I've actually done a breakdown on his 4.27, I thought, you know, it'd probably be good to be able to really get specific into how he was actually able to accomplish this, 10-yard split. So, you know, he ran a 1.43 in the 10-yard split. Him and Chris Johnson have the two fastest 10-yard splits ever. John Ross ran 1.45, I want to say, with his 10-yard split when he broke the record. And, you know, so it ran the 4.22. And so all those are really, really explosive. 1.45 is, you know, very impressive for that first 10. Obviously, 1.43 is also really amazing. So just to give some understanding about Henry Ruggs, he came in, he's 6 foot, weight, I guess that his profile says 5'11" for his draft. And he was 188 pounds. So he's not obviously the tallest guy, but 188 pounds for being 5'11", that's a good size guy, obviously very strong. We're gonna get into it. We get some of the numbers here. So this first one I just said was 0.1 because we could see 0.08. He's still on the ground, you know, so 0.1, yeah, it's probably a little bit late. But we can see that he's off the ground at 0.11, gets right back down at 0.33. So that first off the ground times that 0.23, and then he's right back off there at that 5.0. Again, he's probably before 5.0 there when he's getting off the ground. I think it's really impressive, and that's what this time is as well. Hits the ground at 5.8. Okay, he's off the ground at 7.5. So he is, you know, really long with his foot contact times. We've seen guys that are faster with their foot contact time. I mean, 0.17 is not necessarily a super long time in terms of how long you're on the ground, but we've seen guys that are on and off the ground a little bit quicker than that, and that really ends up being his way of actually generating speed. Is he's going to be a little bit longer in the ground, right? So he's 0.81, and then he's off the ground here again, 0.93. So that's 0.12. He gets down to a pretty low foot contact time pretty quickly, but he's picking up a lot of distance per step. So he easily gets to that 5 yards in 4 steps. Okay, he's a little bit past 5 yards in 4 steps here. We can see it from this angle. All right, so he's almost to 6 yards, to be honest. Right, if we look at the 6-yard mark, I know that wasn't a perfect drawing there, but he's almost to 6 yards. And then as he's continuing to accelerate, he is able to get really to 6.5 probably steps in 10 yards, right? He's like 9 and maybe a half there with his 6th step, and then this would be his 7th step right there, right? So he picked up a lot of distance per step. He stayed with that 0.12 foot contact time, right? I have this one as a 0.12 so he landed at 0.48 is what I got, and was off the ground at 0.60, 148 to 160. And so he ended up with a 0.12 foot contact time for a lot of those steps. So spending a little bit more time on the ground is the point here, but able to get a lot of range of motion. Now, when we talk about range of motion in the sprint, this is really important, is we don't want to be stuck with getting our foot really high back behind us here, especially at the beginning. The idea is we want to be able to get that knee through as quickly as we can. And really, that's a concept that you want to be able to understand in all phases of sprinting, but especially at the start, right? So notice as he's coming off the ground, he's not lifting his foot up as much as he's driving that leg and that knee up and through. And simultaneously, as he's doing that, he lands, and I love the landing position as he's getting the foot through, and because he does such a great job of, and I know it's a little bit blurry, but you can see it. Let's see if we can see a little bit better on this side, where he's landing so much on that front part of his foot, right? So he has so much of his momentum going forward there, and that's hugely critical when it comes to being able to accelerate. That's, I think, the biggest mistake that I see athletes make is they just don't use their foot and their ability to control their body to be able to get into the most effective acceleration positions, right? So when you see him landing here with the position of his foot and his head, or his heel and his head, and really his whole hip, everything is like all very recoiled, right, as his foot's about to hit the ground. Here he's in a very front-loaded position though, right? You see, as he's hitting the ground, there's no part of him that looks like he's slowing down. Everything looks like he is getting more and more acceleration, okay? And then as that foot comes through, we can see how good he does at being able to get that knee all the way up and that foot out, right? So that's just an excellent position to be right here as you're accelerating. You can see how, again, forward his momentum is, and we also see the height of the foot, height of the knee. So now as he's, as that foot's coming off, he's getting a very good trajectory angle going forward, and he's also getting himself very well prepared to be able to strike the ground with this leg. Okay, and what stood out to me too, and this is something that we talked about a lot of times when it comes to the start, is as we're coming through, see how he does such a good job here. The knee is coming, or the knee is facing this way as his leg swinging through. So then as his foot hits the ground, he could hit the ground with his momentum going into abduction, right, or external rotation, and that helps in being able to absorb. So when you're hitting the ground and your foot is going from the medial part of your body or the middle part of your body outwards as you are striking, that helps you in being able to better control the actual motion, right? When you hit coming inwards, okay, when your foot is moving inwards as you're striking the ground, one, that's going to make it so your foot contact time is going to be a lot longer, and two, that's going to make it so you're much more likely to have shin splints and problems within the foot and the ankle. So you want to be able to control how you're striking the ground with not only your foot, but also your leg. And this ends up being critical, making it so now he can absorb through his hip instead of through his foot. And that ends up being, I think, the most important thing with being able to get off the ground quickly with that first step is being able to keep that heel high. In order to keep that heel high, you have to be able to absorb through that hip, which means that knee is turning outwards as your foot is striking the ground. The heel is going to turn in a little bit. You want to try to resist that the best you can. But really, and we'll get another good shot here, you can see how his knee is coming through and his knee ends up facing forward, facing over to us. So it's almost like his right knee is facing to the left right here as he's getting his foot through. So then he could strike with his foot going back to the right and landing, more underneath him or slightly outside. His foot is landing slightly outside of his hip. And it's the same thing on the other side, where the legs end up coming through. And that makes it so now the legs are not losing too much distance within your stride length. Okay, because when you end up going and your feet are landing or your momentum is going inside as you're landing, then what happens is as you're pushing off, you end up having all this separation within your legs, within your knees. Okay, and also what ends up typically happening is that you end up widening your elbows as well. Okay, because your lower body ends up being a big function of what's happening within the upper body. So if we see wide elbows, a lot of times that also means that we're striking with our foot coming inwards, okay, which is then making it so as we're coming through, as our legs are swinging through, our knees are wide, and then our feet touch more like this at ground contact, okay? But when you go the other way, right, when you come through and you drive your knees and your knees are close, right, then that means that our feet land and they're more at like right underneath their hip. Okay, so we don't want to end up going through and having our knees wide and then landing close. Okay, we want to be the other way where as we're coming through, our knees are close, so then our feet are landing wide or landing right underneath the hip. Okay, if we're landing with our foot underneath our midline, the middle part of our pelvis. Okay, that's not effective. That's not efficient. Okay, our feet want to be underneath our hips, just like how we're standing. All right, so that's an important thing to be able to understand when it comes to maximizing your distance per step. There's people I see all the time where it's like, look, you're working harder to achieve less. You're trying so hard to be able to get so much distance within your steps by, reaching to whatever, that is not helping you, right? The way to be able to really maximize your ability to pick up distance and to accelerate is to be able to get the mechanics right of getting your legs through and landing with your foot and your knee going to the outside and maintaining this position where these knees are close as they're swinging through. Okay, external rotation at foot contact, internal rotation as you toe off. Okay, effective with your knee drive, so you're driving your knees straight forward and through. You're having a low heel recovery is a concept that a lot of people talk about. And really what it ends up being is a priority of knee drive, okay, coming or hip motion, okay, making it more of a hip movement instead of a knee movement. Okay, because when you make it a hip movement, now it's the hip coming and driving your knee forward. Okay, so this happens because of your hip flexors and your core where you drive the knee forward. Okay, if you try to make it a knee-dominated movement, now you're trying to think about, or then you end up trying to do this a lot where you're bending the heel back behind excessively, and you end up trying to then push off. Now we'll be looking at this leg here. You try to do a lot of pushing off. See how he's not bending in the knee as his foot's hitting the ground? He's hitting the ground, and I guess there's probably some absorption that's happening as his knees hitting the ground, but really this is a hip and a foot movement. So then he's driving this knee through on the next step. It's not bend the knee here and then try to push off hard here with the quads and with that part of the leg. Okay, because I see a lot of people do that where it ends up being so much about quad activation, right? They're trying to land and then push off and land and then push off and trying to reach, and then you end up spending a lot more time on the ground, and it ends up being much more about your knee action, right? And what you're doing within that joint, which instead of making it so it's about your foot and your hip, which is where you're going to end up getting the most results. So I know we went over a lot of information there, and this is just the first 10. We want to be able to make it so you have a better understanding of, one, the mechanics, right? What are the body positions that you need to be into? But also, what are the numbers? What ends up being the most effective way to improve your sprinting when it comes to the numerical side of things? So when you get both of those down, that's when you could really guarantee your success when it comes to sprinting, running form, and just overall acceleration in general. So that's going to be a big concept for you guys to be able to understand, especially if you're struggling with the acceleration side of the 40, the first 3 steps, first 5 steps, first 7 steps, getting 4 steps in 5 yards, or the 7 steps in 10 yards. I mean, this is the bare minimum. Okay, we saw Henry Ruggs, he got, almost to 10 yards at 6 foot, 188. He almost got to 10 yards in 6 steps, right? He really got closer to probably 12 yards in 7 steps. Okay, so that's really impressive. It's a really, really good job. Okay, so that gives you an idea, though, of if you're 6 foot, you need to at least be able to get 7 steps in 10 yards, right? You got to be able to generate that much force. That's not going to be coming from pushing off and utilizing your quads. It's going to come from striking the ground, using your ankles as you strike the ground, and being able to maximize that hip separation as you are accelerating. So, that's going to be the biggest thing. If you guys have any questions, we'd be happy to answer those for you. We have a ton of information down below in the description about our Faster 40 programs and how you could be a part of that. This is something that we could do from anywhere in the world, those Faster 40 programs. I mean, obviously, if you can come here and work with me in person, that's great, and they're going to get the most benefit from that. But there's a lot of people that are just sending me videos, and there's just nobody that is going into this much detail to help you guys out in improving your sprinting. There's just a factual situation here. There's just not anybody that provides this level of detail when it comes to helping you improve the sprinting mechanics and the body positions and the actual improvements that can be made within the body in order to make it so you can run faster overall. So as always, thanks for watching the video. Like, subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon.